Today we're going to be talking about parenting styles and social development. And the reason why this topic is included in the unit on development is think back to nature versus nurture. This would relate to the nurture side of the debate, the effect that parents have on a child. The first type of parenting style that we're going to be talking about is authoritarian. Now, as we're going over these different types of parenting styles, think back to civics and the types of government. They're going to be similar, the definitions. So in an authoritarian parenting style, the parent is the boss. What they say goes. They feel like they don't need to explain their decisions. So why do I have to do that? Because I said so. That's that type of parenting. And in this type of parenting style, the parent might believe that a child doesn't have the right to question the decisions. The next type of parenting style is called democratic or authoritative. Make sure you know both words. So again, thinking back to those types of government, in the democratic government, the people have a say. So as you can imagine, the children are going to have a say. So the children are going to participate in the decision making in the family. So they're going to discuss and negotiate with the parents. So for example, Mom, I'd like to go to this party. Can I go? Okay, who's going to be there? How late is it going to last? Well, it's going to go till midnight. Well, I'd like you to be home by 11. Okay, so just talking things out, talking about the pros and cons, coming to an agreement together. So the parents are going to listen to the children, and then the parents are going to explain why they have those rules and those expectations. So we want you to get home by 11 because we want you to be off the roads before their bars close and the drunk drivers are out. So parents explaining their rules, explaining their expectations in this type of decision making. As you can imagine, children who are raised in this type of family, it's going to be easier for them to make decisions once they're on their own. And even though the child has a say in the decision making, the parents still have the ultimate say. They can veto, they can use their veto power. So the child isn't completely the boss, but they do get a say in what's going on in the parenting style. The next type of parenting is called permissive or laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is actually an economic term related to let it stand or let it be. In this type of parenting style, the children are the boss. And what happens is maybe the parents have attempted to fulfill that parenting role, but then the children are just rebellious and just continue to insist on their own way, and so they just kind of have broken the parents down over time. And the parents may ultimately just throw their hands up and just give up their responsibilities as a parent. And the last type of parenting style is uninvolved. And in an uninvolved parenting style, this is when a parent is not around to monitor or supervise a child's behavior. So perhaps this is a parent who maybe they have to work 3 jobs, to a single parent who has to work 3 jobs, and so they're always away from home and they're not around to help the child with homework or cook them dinner or put them to bed. They're just not around. Or maybe this is a parent who is always traveling for work and they're never really home. And as you can imagine, the negative effects that this could have on the child and their development, these type of children are much more likely to get involved in illicit activities and perhaps have things like teen pregnancy and that type of thing happen. So in this type of parenting, the parents aren't really around. They don't make demands. They don't really respond to the needs of the child. They're not going to be there to support the child or encourage the child in their endeavors. And perhaps the parents are just more involved in their own interests, whether it's by desire or by necessity, and the children are going to feel disconnected, and the parents are going to be distant from their children. So again, imagine the effects that this would have on attachment. And the last term that you're going to define is socialization. And socialization is the process of learning the rules of acceptable and unacceptable behavior of the culture in which you're born and grow up. And these rules are going to vary culture by culture. For example, whenever the president goes to any new country, they have to learn what is socially acceptable. So, for example, I've heard a story of one of the countries that former President Bush went to. It was actually an insult to show someone the bottom of your shoes because that was considered rude and an insult, and so you have to be careful not to do that. Or I have a friend who studied in Mali, and she said that you couldn't shake or you couldn't eat with your right hand or shake someone's right hand because that was the hand that you wiped yourself with after doing your business in the bathroom. So there's just different rules for each culture. Rules, think Middle Eastern countries, of whether women have to wear veils or cover themselves, cover their heads, that type of thing. And what we're going to see is there's going to be different rules for boys and girls. Maybe you've seen this in your own family, or maybe you've just observed it. Things like, is it okay for a boy to cry? Or is it okay for a girl to play football? I mean, just different rules, whether they're spoken or unspoken. And the last thing that I would like for you to do is go ahead and write down an advantage and a disadvantage for each of the following parenting styles. So we have authoritarian, democratic, authoritative, and then permissive and laissez-faire. Notice I left off uninvolved. So try to think of an advantage and a disadvantage related to the child. And tomorrow we're going to be acting out some different scenarios and having just more discussion on the effects of this type of parenting.